Hi, welcome to Excel session with Yogini. In this session, we are going to learn about dashboard creation. We have already done a session on pivot and reporting. So I'm going to use the same data which I have taken. So this is my data. I have first converted it into table format. Table format makes my data dynamic. Then I have created n number of reports, and now finally I want to create a dashboard. Now, as you all understand, dashboard is nothing but graphically presenting your data. Graphically presenting your data is what dashboard is all about. Okay, so now let us see how I can use this reports for creating dashboard. Now for dashboard, I would require graphs. So first let's understand what are the different kinds of graph. If you go to insert, in insert tab, you will see lot many kinds of graph. Okay, and if you are using Excel 2013 and above versions, you will get something called as recommended graphs. Okay, now one by one I am going to create graphs, and then we are going to do the graph formatting, and then we are going to actually go to dashboard creation. Okay, now I keep my cursor inside this data, and now I go here and I put a graph, or I can simply click on recommended graph and it will give me what kind of graph I can insert. So I can use this recommended graph, or I can also use the shortcut for inserting the graph, and that is Alt plus F1. Alt plus F1 is the shortcut used for inserting graph. So I'm just going to note down some shortcuts for your understanding. Alt F1, insert chart in same sheet, and then we have another shortcut which is F11, which inserts chart in new sheet. So the shortcuts which are there: Alt F1 for inserting chart in the same sheet, F11 for inserting chart in the new sheet. Now let us insert the graph one by one, and then we are going to finally go ahead and create the dashboard. So my first this chart. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a sheet, and then I'm going to give this sheet a name as dashboard. So, okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove these grid lines. So to remove the grid line, I go to view option, view, and in view I click on this grid line. Now one by one I'm going to insert the graphs, and I'm going to take the graph onto the dashboard sheet, and then let's see how further what we can do relating to the dashboard creation. Okay, so I click on, or I press Alt key for activating the shortcut, N for insert, and R for recommended graph, and I just press enter. Now once I press enter key, I get this graph. What I'm doing is Control X cut, and I go to the another sheet, and I am going to simply paste my graph over here. Once I paste my graph over here, I am going to take care of the graph formatting over here. Now to take care of the graph formatting, if you click on the plus sign, you will see all the elements of the graph. Now let us understand what is each element of the graph. So I'm going to quickly highlight all the elements. First, this color coding: legend, chart title, value axis, category axis, grid lines, data series. The entire thing is data series, data point. Now let us first remove the unwanted part. So grid line and legend is gone. Now If you minutely observe, you can also filter on the graph. Hmm? This facility is available only on those charts which are being inserted on a pivot. So charts which are inserted on the pivot, they will have this facility of filtering. Other things will not have this facility of filtering. But I do not want this filter because I'm going to use a different kind of filter over here. So what I'm doing, I'm going to remove this. To remove this, above you will get this pivot chart tools. I click on analyze and I just deselect this field button. Then I activate the data labels and then I'm simply going to give a okay. Now I want to resize this graph. So what I'm going to do is going to pull in from here. Okay. So I've resized this graph. So this is how you can resize these graphs. Okay. This is about the chart. Now, in case I want to do more formatting relating to the chart, like I want to change the color and all, then I have the option over here, color and styles, different kinds of styles and colors I can use. But I want to do something else. So what I do is I click on this. This is my data series. Then I right click on it and I click on format data series. So I'll get this format data series option. In that I'll get this option of fill and I click on fill and I say vary color by point. So every point will have a different color. Now my first chart and first is ready for my dashboard. So now let us go to the next graph. So I switch to my pivot and then I click here. Now we have, remember we have already created these reports. Now we are just creating different types of graphs on this report. Now I'm going to put it on this again, cut, paste. Again the same thing, I'm going to resize it. I'm going to remove certain parts from the graph. Lines, legend, data labels I'm going to add. Okay, and then I'm going to also remove the and I'm going to give a name. This is now next. So I've created one graph. Now I'm going to create another graph. So for this, I'm going to use a pie graph. So I'll click inside and I'll go to insert. And if I click on recommended, it is giving me this, but I can click on pie and this is how it would be. So I'm going to cut it. I'm going to come to the dashboard sheet and I'm going to paste it. Okay. Now once I paste it, I'm just going to zoom out. Now once I zoom out, I'm just going to resize it. Again, I'm going to remove the unwanted parts from my graph like legend. I'm going to add the data label. I'm going to remove the field button. Now, when we are working with pie graph is basically used for percentages. So let us understand how I can get this option. So I go to label options and I say percentage and category name value. I'm going to remove it, and I'm going to place it outside in. Okay, now if they are overlapping on each other, so and if my this is not visible, what I'll do is I'll simply move it on this side. I'll just move it like this, and I'm going to give up. So it says number wise sales. Okay, this is my next one. Z. Okay, now I am going to create one more graph, and this is going to be my line graph. So I go to insert, and I can directly go to the line graph, and I can choose one with the markers. So this is how it is going to show me. So Control X, I cut it, I take it to the dashboard sheet. I'm going to paste it. You can take care of the formatting of the chart. I'm not going to get much into the formatting. I'm just going to tell you the concept of dashboard creation. Again, I'm going to remove the deadline, legend. I'm going to add the data label, and then I'm going to remove the labels. And probably if I want to change it to some other color, I can do that. And then I'm going to give it, which this report is country wise top 10 customers. Country wise customers. That's only what we will do. Now we are done with all the 4 graphs, and now we want to actually go to dashboard creation. Means what I'm trying to achieve. See, if you minutely try and understand certain logic behind dashboard creation, first is my data. Now this data is in table format. Table format means it is dynamic. So if I keep on adding data below, either in rows or columns, if I do refresh, it will reflect in my pivot. Second, I have created n number of reports on my data, and then on each report I have created a graph. So if you logically try and understand, this graph is related to that pivot. Pivot is related to your data. So if your data changes, you need to do changes or additional data is added, you need to do refresh in pivot. Once you do refresh in pivot, the data will reflect. So if the data reflects in pivot, it is going to reflect in chart. This logic is clear. But now these graphs are not related to each other. They will get related to each other only when I link the pivots to each other. This is achieved by something called a slicer. You would recall slicer because I have already told you about slicer in when we created table. Okay, table also has a slicer feature. Similarly, pivots also have a slicer feature. So I click on a graph and I click on Analyze tab. In Analyze tab, we have 2 options, Insert Slicer and Insert Timeline. Slicer is relating to different kinds of field. Timeline is relating to date. So I click on Insert Slicer. Now it will ask you on which fields you want to insert the slicer. I want to insert the slicer on 2, that is the sales representative and the product code. Then I click on OK. I get these boxes. So I'm just going to drag it here, and now I'm going to simply resize it so that I'll be able to arrange them properly. So moment I insert a slicer, above I will get slicer tools. So now I'm increasing the number of columns. Similarly for this one also I will increase the number of columns. So it becomes easier for me to manage. next part is linking these slicers to those individual pivots. So I click on the slicer, I get these slicer tools. In these slicer tools, I get something called as report connection, which will show you all the pivots which you have created. So I'm just going to simply connect it. Similarly, the next one also, report connection. Now you will say, oh, what has happened if we have connected? Let's see what has happened. Okay, now the moment I have linked all these slicers, see, if I click on any one of the product, all the 4 graphs will change relating to that. You will see. So anybody wants to view anything relating to it, he can view, and to remove it, I can just click on this option which will clear the filter or clear the product, whatever filter I have applied. Now we have achieved the dashboard thing. But now if any of my data changes or data is updated, what I need to do, I need to go to each of the pivot, I need to do refresh. Instead of that, what we can do is we can set auto refresh properties for all the pivots. So all the pivots will refresh at one go. Since all the pivots will refresh at one go, all the charts would be refreshed at one go, and your dashboard will automatically be refreshed. To refresh your pivot or all the pivots at one go, just right click inside the pivot, go to pivot table options. In that, go to data and activate this feature. Refresh data when opening the file. The moment you activate this feature, what will happen? It will be activated for all the pivots since the source data is 1, and you will be able to update, or the dashboard will automatically update with the changed data in your data source. Now this is done. Our dashboard is ready. But now what we want to do is, so anybody can view anything from your dashboard. If you want only the dashboard to be visible for people, the simple thing is I'm going to click on all these sheets and I'm going to right click and I'm going to right click and hide them. Now my dashboard sheet is open. Okay. My dashboard sheet is open. Now, but if I right click on this, I'll be able to unhide them. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to review and click on protect workbook. Protect workbook will protect the workbook structure or will protect whatever things you have applied, whatever restrictions you have applied in the workbook will work. So the moment I do protect workbook, you will see now if I right click, the unhide option is deactivated. So anybody whom you send this file, the file will open in this view and he will be able to access the dashboard. So he'll be able to view your dashboard by clicking on things, and your dashboard is dynamic. If your source data changes or updates, your dashboard is automatically going to show it. This is your session on dashboard. I expect you guys would practice. I will come up with a new topic in the next session. Thank you very much.